love Steve being a jerk.
Listen, dude, we've been doing a show for 90 minutes.
I had a chance to listen to your last call. We game plan for PJ Hall.
Uncle.
I have a list of guys I would never hang out with. Your name is right on the top.
Do you like the worst song bracket we're doing?
It's considerably better than the supplement bracket. Let's start with that.
I won a limbo contest.
Oh, my God.
Fran Brown joining us.
These guys are working their butts off. They expect to see that fan.
You want extra money just because you're North Carolina? I'm in all right
What
now.
an honor for you and Jordan to be next to me.
every day.
This is Orange Nation.
There's music, there's fun, there's us. It's everything you could want all in one place.
With Stephen Fonte and Paulie Sibilia.
Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to have you with us. No Paulie Sibilia today. He's on the road in New York for the SU men's basketball game tonight. Stephen Fonte, Jordan Capozzi with you for the next 2 hours up until 2 o'clock. We're taking your calls in hour number one at 315-437-7644. And then we've got a busy hour number two, lots of interviews to get to. 1 o'clock, Ben Darnell, host of ESPN Radio Hartford. He will be on the call this weekend for Syracuse-UConn football. So we'll have Ben give us his thoughts on the Huskies. Felicia Leggett-Jack will join us at 1:15, head coach of the SU women, to talk about last night's loss and last night's passionate press conference, shall we say. And then voice of the Orange, Matt Park, 1:30. And again, we'll mix in your phone calls certainly through hour number one. What's up, Jordan?
I'm swell, I came in thinking I was going to yell a number over and over again for maybe an hour. And now we have something else, notable to discuss. A lot of hoops today. But I can't get over the spread. Credit to you, that Syracuse-Texas spread. I probably shouldn't have assumed it was going to be double digits. I thought it would be like fringe double digits, but it was 8.5 on some books. ESPN Bet had it at 9.5, up to 10.5 now. So a lot of people are thinking the same way that I was. But you think that's about right for this game tonight? Legends Classic opener, Syracuse-Texas?
Well, I do think it's about right, and I was going back and forth with our good friend Sal Manine last night, who is in Texas, and his brother happened to go to Texas, and he's got his pulse on the Texas Longhorns to some degree, and we were going back and forth. He's not all that impressed with this Texas squad, so I'm just cautioning people that think this is going to be a 30-point blowout. I don't see that happening. I'm not saying they're necessarily going to win the game. But I don't think this is going to be a, run them out of the gym type situation. So we shall see. I do think I'm personally expecting a single-digit margin tonight, whatever that means. I certainly give the edge to Texas, but I think it's going to be a closer game than, let's say, you are anticipating.
I guess where I'm at is we've seen that Texas, and look, you went through the numbers yesterday. The three teams that Texas has beat are like the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
Whatever the opposite of the creme de la creme is.
Worst of the worst is fine, yeah.
But they've shown they can take care of them.
Yeah.
Like, you can beat a team by 20 or so, but I've said the number a couple times. Averaging a 40-point win at bare minimum, it proves that if you are superior to a team, that you can go out there and take care of business. What I worry is if they are better than the Syracuse team, which at this point in the season, I have to believe they are. Yeah. I'm not saying the rest of the season. I still think this team has a lot of potential and a lot of pieces. I think if they're better, then it could really show. A couple of the saving graces that I see. One, Syracuse has proven they can rebound. And, they've done it against 3 non-Power 4 teams. But last year they weren't doing it. So that gives me some faith. And then Coach Autry was very candid in saying that he's still kind of messing with the lineups, tinkering a little bit. So maybe he's got that kind of hammered down, and in this big game, they're going to kind of put out the lineups that they're most confident in.
Yeah, and I fully expect that. And Paulie brought up that point earlier the week, and I completely agree with the both of you. I think we're going to see the rotation tightened a little bit tonight. This is one of those games that every possession matters, and there is urgency. And so, again, we haven't – now, you could talk about whether or not we should have seen Syracuse play in a game like this, to this point. Like, Paulie's point was – they beat Lemoyne by 4? Why wasn't there that urgency in the 2 games that followed against Colgate and Youngstown State? And we saw the urgency down the stretch of all 3 of those games. Why wasn't there the urgency right from the opening tip? There better be the urgency from the opening tip tonight, right? Because Texas is, again, I don't know how good they are, but at this point, it looks like they're better than Syracuse. They're certainly a brand name. They're a Power 4 conference opponent. Again, neutral site game, national TV, all that goes with it. This feels like a big game. It feels like the first big game of the season for the Orange. So I expect them to come out and play with some urgency, and I think that you're going to see the rotation tightened up a little bit, and you're going to see the main guys be the main guys tonight. And Jair Davis, I think I look at him as a main guy, even though he's coming off the bench. I think Elijah Moore, it looks like a guy who can play crunch time minutes, and we may see more of him tonight. I'm curious to see how Jaquan Carlos handles, the situation. And, he had trouble with, the guards with Colgate and Lemoyne and Youngstown State keeping him in front of him. Let's see what he does tonight against, theoretically a more athletic backcourt. But I do think, 8.5 is about right. And, let's see. And there are no moral victories, but I am curious to see if SU keeps this thing within single digits tonight. There is a big difference between like a 5-point loss tonight and a 25-point loss tonight. So let's see what it looks like.
This feels like a very easy take to make, but I've also got to make it. I'm looking at this game, and I feel like the key at this point is going to be, are we going to see the Chris Bell that showed up last year? It doesn't have to be the NC State game, but that guy, the last game wasn't the best performance. And also, people had some issues with some of the shrugging and the not liking foul calls and walking down the court still upset with the refs during the play, which we've talked about before. It's well documented, and it's not something you need. But he's the elder statesman of this team. They're going out to play a big game, and I think he's going to need to show up. And not only that, but I'm very concerned about the defense, Steve. I've been concerned since the exhibitions when you were trying to talk me off the ledge and tell me that it was just because they might not be ready in terms of intensity. I don't see this being a defensive masterpiece tonight, personally. And I think that means you're going to need Chris Bell to go out there and hit his shots. I'd like to get him going early. Like, this feels like a game where I don't just want to see like 2 or 3 threes. Like, I'd like to see him drain, not just take, 4 or 5, because I really think they're going to need to win a shootout tonight if they're going to beat Texas. And again, I know Texas hasn't really played anybody, but you got guards for Youngstown State setting their career highs against Syracuse. So I don't care who Texas has played. You're at Texas for a reason. That's a tournament team every year. You're going to have to outscore them.
I'll go back to the Colgate game. Jalen Cox was the best player on the floor. Like, that shouldn't happen against Colgate, but he was doing anything he wanted to do, getting to the basket. I'm with you on Chris Bell. 4 for 18 so far from 3-point range. That has not been one of the best shooters in the country, right?
And none of the guys have shot well. So maybe it's a team thing. I have no clue. Maybe the intensity gets them going. They love New York City, Syracuse, but I think it's got to start with him. And then with some of those younger guys or newer guys, I think if Bell starts making a couple shots, that's when they get their confidence. And CBW mentions in the chat, I'll give Chris Bell credit. The rebound numbers have been better. They've been like bare minimum floor what you want. 10 through
3 games. He's got he's averaging a little bit over 3.
Of what you want. Yeah. And he's made his impact on the defensive end a little bit. I don't think anybody's been great on defense, but
had the big stop against Lemoyne for what it's worth in the Colgate game and Lemoyne for that matter. So
maybe it's a good sign that we're talking about Chris Bell needs to hit his shots, because that's inevitable.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see if we see a more aggressive J.J. Starling, right? That breakout game that he had against Youngstown State, I think he sees now that he is capable of doing that. Like, he took over that game, and I know it was just Youngstown State. I get it. But he sees that he is now capable of taking over a game when and if they need him to. I'm not saying he's got to go for 38 tonight, but I am wondering if we see a more aggressive J.J. Starling looking for his shot, looking for, trying to get to the basket a little bit more than normal right out of the gate tonight. Because you're right. I think you got to lean on the veterans. You got to lean on the guys who have been here, and that's JJ and Chris Bell to get you off to a good start, and you hope everybody else comes along. I mean, Donnie Freeman, still a freshman. I thought he did some really good things against Youngstown State, but he's 3 games into his college career. Elijah Moore, 3 games into his college career. Eddie Lampkin and Jair Davis, they're new to the program. Chris Bell and JJ Starling need to set the tone. I'm 100% with you on that. 315-437-7644 is the number. We do have a phone call, Joe.
Got a guy, Roger, in Geneva. Roger, how you doing?
I'm living the dream, man. I'm in the Finger Lakes. I went to Syracuse University back in the early 80s. So I'm excited about Syracuse football, you know. So,
hey, we all are.
Yeah. No, I thought they could have made the top 12 in that Stanford game. That was but I'm happy. I'm happy about Syracuse football. Kyle McCord is not coming back, obviously, but I'm happy. First time I've ever called into your station, and I used to work as a bouncer at Sutter's down on Marshall Street. Not to get back into the early 80s, but Donnie McPherson. God, I think we went undefeated that one year.
Yeah, 87. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, people are definitely excited about this team. There's no doubt about it, Roger. Yeah. We do appreciate you calling into our show, and thank you for listening.
Hey, now I have one more quick one. What 2 colleges have won a national championship in football, basketball, and lacrosse? Syracuse and Maryland.
Maryland, okay.
Maryland.
I knew Syracuse, obviously. Maryland, how about that?
Notre Dame? Yeah, whatever. All right. Cheers, man.
All right. Thanks, Roger.
Thank you, Roger.
All right, I learned something from Roger. I did not realize Maryland was the other. But
huge.
Yes. See, we learned something. All right, getting back to hoops here, though. I think it's, you're spot on, Jordan, with the, Chris Bell's got to show up tonight. I think JJ's got to show up. There's no reason to believe that JJ won't show up. And I do think that, listen, this caliber of opponent, if we're being honest, is closer, right, to what they're going to see day in and day out, night in and night out in the ACC. So I know it didn't look good in these first 3 games. I'm genuinely curious to see what it looks like tonight, and if there's a wide gap, or if it's if they're right there with Texas, and hopefully they learn some things. And I do think, and I heard Brian Higgins talk about this the other day, I think there are some things that they did in the second half in the overtimes against Youngstown State that hopefully are encouraging signs of what can come. What is still to come, and you hope that they could get it together, and they did get it together in the second half in overtimes against Youngstown State, and hopefully they can build from that and carry that over into the Texas game. Let's get one more phone call in this segment. It's Noah in Liverpool. He wants to talk basketball. Hey, Noah.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right. I think everybody needs to take a step back and relax when it comes to hoops. They've had 3 wins, no losses. Good teams find a way to win. Like Coach Fran says, 1 point is a butt whooping. Everybody needs to just relax. They have all the pieces. Besides the point guard defense, I think that needs to be improved. But good teams find a way to win. And I think tonight is actually going to be the gauge where we see whether this team is good or not. Everybody's already down on them. I think that's a little excessive.
I like the vibe. Noah, may I ask you quick before you go, and we appreciate you calling. Would you predict a Syracuse win tonight? What's your vibe on this game?
I have absolutely no idea. I think that Syracuse covers. I don't know if they win, but as long as it's a close game, I'm not going to give up on this team. I think they have too much talent, and I think Red needs an opportunity to kind of find his personality as a coach and his philosophy. I think we need to be more lenient with that. It is only his second year.
All right.
I appreciate that.
Thanks for calling in. No, I came across this tweet the other day, and I tweeted it out, and people had all these great responses to it. But I was just
I take it they weren't great.
They weren't great. I was simply just pointing out. So I came across this tweet. Somebody who covers Arkansas, and it said the John Calipari era at Arkansas so far : led Lipscomb by 4 with 6:54 remaining, lost to Baylor, trailed Troy at the half, led Pacific by just 2 with 12:48 remaining. And I just brought it up because like these things are going on everywhere, right? It's and Arkansas is the top 20 team, and somebody pointed that out to me. They're like, well, Arkansas is 33rd in the Ken Pom, and look at where SU is. That proves my point even more. They're considered a top 25 team, and they're dealing with this. And Syracuse is not a top 25 team, and they're dealing with it. It's happening everywhere, right? And so, maybe this is a major cause for concern. Like maybe they get blown out tonight, and maybe you sound the alarm bells. But maybe they figure it out, and they are 3-0 right now. And so maybe they learn through wins, and they can build upon the Youngstown State game. And let's see what happens down here in New York, because I think this 2-day stretch is going to be very telling about at least like the next month or so of the season. I mean, teams will naturally improve over the course of the year, but to Noah's point, like let's just see what it looks like tonight, and then we'll be able to react tomorrow.
1,000%. I agree. It's kind of like what Indiana football is going up against with Ohio State. I don't think they have to win the game to make their point. They just have to keep it close, and that's all I'm asking. Don't get blown out of the water.
But again, if you ask the players and coaches that, like that's not what they're trying to do.
No, they're trying to win.
I mean,
they should be,
there
obviously.
are no moral victories at Syracuse basketball, and that has always been the case, and it should always be the case, past, present, future. But I think those of us breaking it down, whether it's fans or those of us in the media, I think I think you do need to look at tonight as, is it close or is it not? Instead of, wins or loss, did they win or did they lose? Like, obviously that's important, but I think it's more important to be close versus to get run out of the gym.
I agree. Shall we take a quick break here and hit a phone call after the break? Kyle, hold on, my guy. We got you.
We'll get to you. More phone calls next on ESPN Radio.
Don McPherson.
Okay, hand up, full transparency. The plan is and was to discuss last night's Syracuse women's basketball game, more specifically post-game press conference next. So as soon as we're done with the men's hoops calls, we're not going to boot anybody out, but that is something we want to discuss. And if you are just tuning in, Coach Jack's coming on the show at 1:15. So we will hear from Coach Jack. Also, it's time for Dua Lipa Day.
No commercials, baby. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. It's second nature. Every time I do this, my plan is to leave the commercials on and then make a big stink of it. And, I'm just in automatic mode. I'm full disclosure, and I'm worth noting. Phrases I like. What I don't like is the fact that one side of my hair is up and one isn't. It is, Pastor Tim. Maybe Paulie will call in. We'll try to maybe get him on the horn while Matt Park's on the phone. I believe they're in the car together. It's tough to get Dua Lipa songs because our engineer put firewall on the PCs. On the PCs. Yeah. Thank you. 1, 2. Stop moving my computer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7. We'll make it happen. How tall am I? Spatch in the wheeze. Is that Paulie Shore?
Yeah.
Okay. How tall am I? My license says 5'3", so we'll go with that. Do the students support the women? I mean, they're students, so I'm not going to be too hard on them. Just because you're a student doesn't mean you have to go to games. But no, I'm going to be honest. I don't think enough of our students support any of the sports. But we talk about how Syracuse sporting events, it's like an event town, a party town. When the basketball games were getting the most buzz when, all these celebrities were coming. Not that the games aren't well attended, but also Boeheim's had to come out and, get mad at people for not showing up on a Tuesday night against Oakland. So to answer your question, no, I don't think the students really do a great job supporting the women's team. But I also don't think it's just the women's basketball team. No, I agree, Pastor Tim. I think, well, here's what I'll say. I think Syracuse does better when they're underestimated, but I also think everybody does better when underestimated because your expectations are therefore lower. But I mean, who doesn't love an underdog and being an underdog, right? Yeah, I know, CBW. That's why I'm choosing my words carefully. Yeah, I mean, I agree, Kev. I agree. It stinks that everybody doesn't come out, you know? By anyone, do you mean anyone? Because, yeah, I mean, we knew. It's on the schedule. We broadcast it. Pat, what's good, Pat? Yeah, no, I agree. Orange in Oz. No, that is correct, CBW. I mean, you just heard the callers. You know, you talk about what the people are calling about and what the people want to hear.
On 1200 AM and 1440 AM. Watch your favorite ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on QSportsTalk.com.
We are back on Orange Nation. Jordan Capozzi here with Stephen Fonte. Paulie's on the road to the Legends Classic. Artist of the day, Dua Lipa. Why, you ask? What happened on this date in history? I don't think anything. Paulie and Steve just thought her name was Dua Lipa yesterday. So we're teaching the people about Dua Lipa. This song, Houdini, highest charting song off her new release, her new album, Radical Optimism.
I've never heard this song before.
Well, Steve, it's off an album that dropped a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm not with it.
Well,
not
no.
Up on the times.
I don't expect you to sit in your car and listen to new albums on Spotify on the way home. That's my job.
All right.
Dua Lipa, Artist of the Day, ESPN Radio Syracuse, and Utica Rome.
True story. I got a new phone. You know this. You know that I lost many contacts by getting this new phone. One of the things I lost was the ability to sign into Spotify.
Oh,
it's been a couple of weeks. I still can't sign in. So I've got to figure that out at some point. All right. Let's go to the phone lines. Kyle in Carthage is up next. Thanks for holding, Kyle. How are you today?
Hey, Steve. Hey, Jordan. I'm doing well. Thanks for taking my call. It's good to be back in basketball season. So I'm heading down to the game tonight in New York City at Barclays.
Nice.
I certainly wish it was at MSG like the old days, but
Yeah.
we'll certainly take the Big Apple. Just wanted to see, obviously you may not know this, but just wanted to see if there's a chance we see Chance Westry tonight. And then also saw Eddie Lampkin kind of limping around a little bit after the end of the Youngstown State game. Hoping he's going to be good to go tonight because we're going to need a lot of minutes out of him and some good rebounding and tough play on the inside.
I will. Oh, thank you for calling, Kyle.
You know, he cleared the line quickly. You got to respect it.
He did. He wanted to hang up and listen. I doubt that we're going to see Chance Westry. I don't know that we're going to see Chance Westry here for a little bit.
No.
I would be shocked if he played.
I'll just say no. If you're on Twitter seeing John Rothstein tweet out the morning of every game that Chance Westry is available, don't get too excited. Matt Park, who's coming on the show at 1:30, said it was either last week or the week before. Like, you can't expect him to just come out in a game against Texas and be in game shape and be ready. Like, optimistically, maybe Cornell, but I feel bad. I can't answer, but we don't know.
This is kind of one of those, we'll see him when we see him type of thing. Right? I mean, right? I mean, we can speculate and target all we want. I would be stunned if it was tonight. I think that he's working his way back, and it's a process, and from my understanding, he's not ready to go quite yet for a game. But we shall see, and we can certainly ask Matt Park. In terms of Eddie Lampkin, I have no reason to believe that he's not okay. So again, we can ask Matt Park that. But my understanding is, you'll see Lampkin. I don't think you'll see Chance Westry.
Eddie's got like ice and like the heating pads of almost every game in the locker room, to where it makes me think it's more of a precautionary thing, just trying to keep his body, feeling good. So that's my guess, but no reason to be concerned.
All right. Let's switch gears, shall we?
Let's do it.
Let's talk some women's basketball now, and certainly the SU women in the headlines last night for two reasons. Number one, they lost a close game to Albany. Albany hit a three with 3.5 seconds left to win it 73-70. And then afterwards, the other reason that they're in the news and in the headlines, Felicia Leggett-Jack had some passionate words, let's put it that way, passionate press conference afterwards, after the loss. So we're going to kind of, they're long, right? The comments are long, Jordan. We have one long.
Yeah, it's her open.
Soundbite?
So I'll give you a little context, too. You're going to hear her talk about like people laughing and partying. Seems she walked into the presser room and someone in the media, before the press conference started, they were laughing or joking or whatever, as her team was experiencing a tough loss. And that seems to be what set her off. So if you hear that here and you're not aware of what happened, that's the context. She walks in and somebody was laughing after the loss to UAlbany.
And so this is her opening comment.
This is that's what I've been trying to tell these young people on our team. Like, nobody cares about our program. Nobody cares about women's basketball. It's evident how, it's not nobody's fault, but, the laughing and all that fun stuff, nobody's into it like we are, and that's okay. But I try to get our kids to understand, we got to be so locked into us that we don't see that the fan base is like 12 people here. We got to see that we can't see people that's not on the court, not really locked in, because it's about our dreams. It's about our decision that we're going to rise above it all. And so this is the lesson learned. We don't lose, and I'm not going away from that. Albany's a good team, and I'm going to say it on record, the better team didn't win today, but the more prepared team won today. The team that decided that every single possession is going to matter as if their life depended on it. And we thought that we had a tomorrow. And so we're going to take this and sit on it for a day, and we're going to go home, and we're going to get on a plane, and we're going to go down to Florida, and we're going to decide what this really means to each one of us. And we'll get better. But I'm glad I walked in when I did, so our players can see that nobody cares, man. We up here crying outside, and then we got a fun, let's go have a party in here. It's not you guys, it's everybody. And it's okay. But what's not okay is us not giving 100% for ourselves, man. This life lesson stuff we're talking about, man. And we got to decide that we're going to hunker down and turn the noise out from all the people on the outside and lock into the inside and get real with each other. This is a perfect situation for us. This is what's supposed to have happen for us right now. And we'll get better.
May I, Steve?
May you what? Respond?
Two things.
Okay, go ahead.
So again, that's Coach Jack after last night's loss to Albany. There are two ways that you can take this. A lot of people are not going to like being called out as fans, and I feel like a lot of the people who will be most upset about it are probably people who aren't going and wouldn't go anyway. But if you're going out there as Coach Jack and you're not only seeing a lack of participation from the community to the point where you don't think it can get any worse, then this is what you do. You go out there and you risk it and you get attention, because if it's which it is, if it's that bad, then you've got to get attention somehow. But the bigger thing, I don't think this was aimed at the community as much as it was her team. I think that was a message to her team saying it doesn't matter if people don't show up. You all need to play for yourselves, our family versus their team. And I genuinely do think while it got community attention and that was part of it, I think that was a message to her team to go out there and fight 100%, 110%, even if there aren't as many people there as you'd like to see. And I think from both of those perspectives, I think she accomplished her goal.
And I will say this. I know that she very much appreciates the fans who do show up. So that was not aimed, obviously, at them.
Of course.
That's aimed at, the ones that don't. And you're right. I mean, a bulk of that may very well have been aimed at her team. We're going to bring her on at 1:15, and she can tell us, really what the message was behind it. The part that I think, it kind of raises an eyebrow at first is the calling out those in the media room. And she said it's not you guys. But that's how she kind of started it. Now, it's obviously not the media's job to be somber after a loss. Like the media has a job to do, and they're in there, and maybe somebody was telling the story, and they happen to laugh, and the media is not supposed to take a loss, hard or celebrate a win or be upset about a loss. Or like the media, like we have a job to do, and that's tell the story of the game. So maybe that just irked her a little bit, that she's got, players crying in the locker room, and now she comes in and, it's this happy atmosphere. I can't speak to that. I would just say that those of us in the media, it's not our job to be sad after a loss. But the part that I do agree with is that, there is a lack of support. I mean, what she's saying is, like, she's just being honest. She's talking from the heart. We know Coach Jack. She's very passionate about what she does. And she loves what she does. She loves women's basketball. She loves this university. She loves her players. And when she's not seeing that love back, like I took this twofold, that she is defending her team and that she's also, laying into her team,
Yeah, and she said later in the game that they're just not tough enough. And she referenced Deja Fair as someone whose toughness carried them last season. She was very critical of her team and herself. So she's not just calling out everybody. She also said that part of their issue with the quick starts and then things go downhill in the second quarter is that she's still trying to figure out who she needs to substitute into the game and, make that rotation best to keep the energy throughout the game. But, I agree with you. And also just, we know Coach Jack, like, very passionate, looks at her players and her team like her family. So, like, your families out there crying and you go in and people are laughing. And then two of your players, Georgia Woolley and Isabel Verajao, walk into that room and see that. And as the coach, as the leader, you go out there and stick up for your team. And I mean, also let's be honest here. Like, the best coaches don't use media as a back and forth conversation. They use the media as an avenue to make a point and get their message out. And she 1,000% did that.
She did.
And Cuse is in the house. If she didn't have this outburst, is she the second story today? And no. And that was the point.
Well,
and she did a good job.
We still would have talked about the fact that they lost.
Of course.
But the messaging is different, obviously. And I get that. I will say this, and this is where Paulie makes fun of me, but, somebody who, played Division III basketball, I can tell you that lack of fans in the stands, like I lived it. It is hard to get up when you go from high school playing in front of packed gyms and playing for championships and whatnot, and then you go to in my case Division III and no one's there. It's like your family, your friends, your girlfriend, like maybe you're somebody who lives in your dorm, and it is hard to get up for that. And you look around the country, and that's not what it looks like in other places. That's not what it looks like in Iowa, for instance. I'm using, obviously, drastically different examples, but UConn women and Gino Ariema set the all-time wins record last night. And you look at what Caitlin Clark did for Iowa, and women's sports, generally speaking, around the country is in a healthy spot. And, you look around at Syracuse, and it is not right now. And so, Felicia Legette-Jack calling attention to that, calling out, I think she was calling out the community to some degree, and she's calling out her team to some degree. And, again, it's something that bothered her, something she's passionate about, and she called attention to it. And we're going to bring her on at 1:15, and she can talk about those comments and get her message out further, what she was trying to accomplish with what she said last night.
We're a little behind, so we'll take a break. But before we do that, we got a lot of interviews in the second hour. So now's a great time to remind you about Wegmans Lights on the Lake, which is started up, guys. You can still register for the 5K run Sunday, November 24th. It's at 6 a.m. But of course, get your tickets now for Lights on the Lake, specialty nights all week, so you can give back to different charities. Head to lightsonthelake.com and get your tickets early, because you don't want to go the night of and then you can't get in the night you want. Your whole family's in the car. They're all mad at you. Then you got to awkwardly grumble on the way home, listen to Christmas music. That's a weird vibe. Who wants to listen to Christmas music when you're all mad? So go to lightsonthelake.com and just get your tickets early. Take care of it.
It was a great sales pitch.
I mean, who wants to argue to Christmas music?
All right, we'll take a time out here. Phone lines remain open all of hour number 1, and then we've got back-to-back-to-back interviews to kick off hour number 2. We are back after this on ESPN Radio.
Hold on, John. We're coming for you after the break.
Today, the Orange.
Yeah, I saw that a lot online with the smaller venues. I appreciate everybody, keeping everybody in check. I don't know who. Hand up, we could all be better. Also,
yeah, Ryan, I saw the attendance figures, the 2,000. I mean, I was not at the game. I was watching it on ACC Network Extra. It looked like there were about 200 people there, not 2,000.
Yeah. Also, I will say everybody can do a better job, and if you think I'm wrong, you can disagree, and it shouldn't always rely on a guess. But I do think we, as a show, whether it's with women's basketball and Coach Jack and different players, having specials, whether it's with the women's lacrosse team, I think we do a fairly good job in trying to make sure that there's some representation.
Ryan, did it look like 2,000 to you? And again, I wasn't there, so I will defer to you. But did it look like 2,000?
Steve, I just want you to know that when 1:15 hits, this is what you're going to hear. We're back on ESPN Radio Syracuse and Utica Rome. Watch us on QSportsTalk.com. Artist of the day, Dua Lipa. This is Don't Start Now. And then that's it. And then I'm just going to, No, I'm half kidding.
I know you guys are busy after the show. The sooner you can get me that, the better, because they have me leading the 4 with it. You. So it's and I'm solo today.
I'll make it priority. Yeah.
Right, thank you.
Just so you guys know, Cody, they're filming something special over on the K-Rock end, so there's not going to be a show today. Brian will be here at 4, and then we've got our pregame. Q Sports Talk is going to be the place to be the next couple days. I believe that we are Q Sports Talk only for both post games. If they lose tonight, then I believe Syracuse is in the early game, and then we're definitely Q Sports Talk only for post game. So if you have a friend who is a frequent listener and is going to be upset that we're not on the radio, let them know early so we can get the views and so they can be happy. That's good, Mike. Right. Oh, wait. Q Sports Talk Radio and see. Okay, my bad. You know what? Listen to Ryan. Or Brian. Listen to Brian. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Q Sports Talk only is pregame. Pregame. I'm sorry, Brian. I apologize. Yeah, Ryan at 4. Great job on the Fran Brown show from Sport Boys. Somebody else asked how you enjoyed it.
Oh, I loved it. It was a lot of fun. Thanks, Sport Boy. Appreciate you mentioning that.
You can listen to Brian before. I'm sorry, guys. I'm all over the place. I had too much coffee.
I enjoyed it. It was good, really good conversation, and I like talking to him. He gives insightful answers.
No, he gives. I'm gonna be on it. Just hand up. I try to keep it real. When I heard his first press conference, his intro press conference, I was like, he is just saying everything that you want to hear. And then as the press conferences went in the beginning of the year, I started to be like, man, he does not say anything. And as the games get more important and as he actually has more to talk about, I mean, he talks about the big picture stuff. He's funny. He's witty. He plays along. Fran's an example of he knows how to, I don't mean use as in use, but he knows how to utilize the media to his advantage, because how can you not freaking like the guy? Hey, Paulie, you gonna buy a shirt? Come on, Paulie, buy that's funny. I mean, Fran was joking with me at our little our VIP lunch that we did, and he had never met me. He's just chill guy, cool guy.
ESPN 97.7 and 100.1. Watch live on QSportsTalk.com.
Orange Nation back on ESPN Radio Syracuse and Utica Row. Make sure to watch us on QSportsTalk.com. This hour of Orange Nation brought to you by Fellman Brothers Automotive, and that includes the artist of the day, Dua Lipa. This is Break My Heart. It's not Don't Break My Heart, but I don't think she wants you to break her heart, but that's the song, Break My Heart. And again, it's because you guys just didn't know who she was.
No, I heard the name.
No,
but
that's not what you said yesterday.
Well, I've heard the name. I pronounced it wrong. And I know a couple songs by her.
You probably know Levitating, and you know Don't Start Now. And we'll play those to cap off the show. And they'll be bangers.
All right. I look forward to that. Let's go back to the phone lines. A lot of phone calls today. John in Bridgeport up next. Hey, John.
Hey, man. How are you?
We're great. How are you?
Good. I'm going to try to preface this saying I've only been to maybe 5 Syracuse girls basketball games, probably 100 male basketball games, and season tickets for the football for 30-plus years. I was at a establishment last night, and on the TV, it was Clemson at home against the number 1 South Carolina team. There was nobody at that game, and that was on national television. So I think our coach visions of grandeur that women's basketball doesn't have, doesn't deserve, doesn't get. Whatever word you want to use. It was great that Caitlin put women's basketball on the map for 3 years. I don't see anybody carrying that trophy to keep people interested. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I will say this. Did you happen to watch any of the WNBA playoffs / finals?
I think I watched the final. I honestly can't tell you.
So,
was that during the Olympics?
It may have been. I'll say this: Caitlin Clark was not involved in the finals. It was, she had been eliminated, but it was, Minnesota, Lynx against, Brandon Stewart and the Liberty. The places were packed, right? I mean, both arenas were packed. The games were great. The TV ratings were really good. So, like, I understand, like, there's more work to be done and growth, but, like, women's sports right now, and again, if you watch the WNBA finals, it was more than just Caitlin Clark. And I think it was more than just, yes, she brought a lot of eyeballs to the WNBA throughout the season, but I think the WNBA is in a pretty healthy spot right now. Caitlin Clark has helped, but I don't think she's the only reason for that, I guess.
But is that going to translate to the college level?
I don't know. I don't know.
I think that was the hangover of Caitlin is, what she's doing in the WNBA, then that got eyes. Who's going to take Caitlin's trophy case at the college level? Who's that person?
Well, you're right.
Nobody at Clemson yesterday.
Right, and you're absolutely right, John. You need stars. I mean, look at when college basketball really exploded, right? And Bird and Magic being one of the most watched college basketball games of all time back in the day, and then what they did to the NBA, and there was a trickle down effect to college basketball because then they leave and there's other stars in college basketball behind them, and we watch the NFL in part to yes for our teams, but for stars like if Patrick Mahomes is playing or Tom Brady back in the day or Peyton Manning, like you're watching for the stars. So you're right. Like the women's game desperately needs stars.
But that doesn't. How do you get that? She's right that no one comes to the games. I totally understand that. I totally get it. But she's not making the point that come see this person, come see that person. Like I said, I've probably been to 5 games in 30 years. And 4 of those 5 games is because my daughter's birthday's in February. She wanted to go see girls play basketball. I personally don't have much interest in girls basketball. I don't think it's good basketball, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I completely disagree with that part of it. Like, again, I watched a lot of WNBA, especially this year, and I mean, the product is good. Like that WNBA finals, it was, John, as always, we appreciate you checking in. The WNBA Finals was some of the best basketball I've seen in a really long time. Like, that series was awesome. All the games were close. There was a lot of shot making, and to me, it was fun to watch. Did you watch any of it, Jordan?
Sorry, I was moderating our chat.
Okay.
What was the question?
WNBA Finals. That was some of the best basketball that I've seen.
There were some sloppy hoops, but it was very competitive. The games were, good. I didn't lock in for the whole thing, but fourth quarter of each game, you're tuning in because it's the finals.
I don't know. I think the women's game has a really good product out. And again, even watching the tournament last year, gone are the days of just, UConn dominating or Tennessee dominating, or you still have those premier programs, but there's a lot more parity in the game now. And I think the product is a lot better.
I think they're doing a better job, but it's going to be a gradual steps up. I remember, I forget the exact day, but there was a Fever Sky game on. I believe it was a Monday that we had off, and it was on during the day and sat through the whole thing. Because obviously, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, that's something they're throwing at you. They're marketing the crap out of it. So you watch that game, and it was great. It was an entertaining ball game. I just think as more stars go through the college level and get to the higher level, then they'll be marketing more people, and I think it's partially on everybody. But, I don't think the way the message was thrown out there was great, but, I appreciate John's honesty, and I see what he's saying. If he's not interested, I see that as a reason, but, could have been a better way to say it.
Yeah. No, I think the product is continuing to get better. It's a process. Listen, it's not going to happen overnight, but again, watch the women's basketball, college basketball tournament last year, the WNBA finals. There is a good product out there right now. Let's go to Tony in Syracuse. He's up next on the show. Hey, Tony.
Hey, guys. How are you?
We're good. How are you?
Hanging in there, Tony. How about you?
Good. Yeah. Just listening. So I was only calling because earlier I figured, is it too early to start poking the bear about Red playing for his coaching, life here? My theory last year. Well, following up on that last caller, I think up here, you almost have to prove it on the court to get people to actually come out. I bought season tickets for football. I used to have them back in the day before I had children. I used to be able to go to everything. Now you got to pick and choose. But even the football team that's made drastic improvement this year, still trying to prove to the fans to come out and actually watch it. So it could be just the area on that. But it's interesting. You guys know how I feel about Red. I think he's going to do a good job, but it's going to take a little bit of time, especially with all these new players coming in. Eventually they have to learn. If we're in the middle of the season and we're not doing something, then we got a problem. But last year we started out the same way, and I thought he played strong, but he only had 7 guys.
Yeah, and I think you may see 7 guys tonight. We'll see what the rotation looks like. Tony, as always, we appreciate you checking in.
I think Tony has a point there in the sense that I've looked at the posted attendance for some of these football games, and I've been baffled to see some of them that are below 40K.
Yeah.
We were saying it before the season, if they build it, they will come. And I know it's been up and down, but France, for the most part, built it. And, even the football games not being able to crack 40K has baffled me. So, Tony might have a point. It's kind of tough.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are a lot of options in this town. I get that. Crunch is in season right now. SU men's and women's basketball, SU football going on. There's a lot going on in this town, and I get it. And they're off to a 2-3 start right now, and you hope that they can figure things out and move on from life with DeAsia Fair to now this next era. And there's going to be a transition. You knew they were going to miss her. It's you don't just lose one of the top 5 scorers in the history of the game and not notice her absence. So it's going to be a process and some growing pains. I think we're seeing those growing pains right now as Cuse drops to the SU women drop to 2-3. We'll hear from Felicia Leggett. Jack, she'll join us coming up at 1:15. We'll take our last time out in hour number 1. And then we're going to talk Cuse football at the top of hour number 2. We've got Ben Darnell on. He'll be on the call. ESPN Radio Hartford. He'll fill us in on the Huskies. Matt Park on the way in hour number 2 as well at 1:30. We're back after this on ESPN Radio.
Cuse Sports Talk.
Is Hartford?
What?
Did I write Hartford? Did I mess it up?
What?
I think I wrote it wrong. I think it would be New Hartford if I'm not mistaken.
Why New? Isn't he from Connecticut?
Am I just messing myself up here? Okay, I'm just freaking out. Yeah, it is just. Okay.
It's just Hartford.
I don't know why I thought it was New Hartford. I'm panicking. I'm on edge. I'm scared. I'm shook. I am beyond shook. We're getting all the Johns calling in about women's basketball, and they're saying stuff, and it's like I don't want to just not let you say your piece, but also like, well, it's because there are no commercials. You're trolling me, Chris. I know enough about what's happening to know that you're trolling me. I also know you well enough to know that you're trolling, Mister. I heard that Fran's going to Alabama yesterday. Yeah, I see you. Also, like, it's not ideal, but the reality, Kev, but the reality of things is like, not everybody's going to go to every Syracuse game. When you have the football and the basketball going on, like, it's really tough to get people out to the weeknight stuff.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just thinking about this.
No,
do they know out there when she's on to when she's responding to go to her?
I'll make sure to let her, like, it's, and they hear now, but
okay.
Turn the commercials up. Okay.
I could go tell them.
I mean, they can hear now. They also, like, they know.
Okay.
Like, they
So yeah, when we have Felicia Leggett Jack on, guys, just when she answers questions, go to that one shot of her if possible.
NC9 procedure. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun.
Mike Tyson autographed Nintendo cartridge.
I love people saying that I'm wrong, that I like watching women's college basketball. Like, I'm wrong that I like it. It is kind of my opinion. If it's not for you, that's fine. It's not for you, but I do appreciate the game, and I've really enjoyed watching it lately. I thought that series was great. Yeah, the end of Game 5 was a little clunky, but that series was fantastic.
What is kind of a shame, though, is...
Sorry, I will move my headphones, everyone. I apologize.
What is kind of a shame is, Coach Jack, she said her piece, and, like, New York Post is writing about it. We're talking about it. The chat's lit up about it. Callers are calling in about it. And now they go to the Emerald Coast Classic. So we'll have to see if there's an immediate payoff.
Yeah.
But that would have been very interesting to see. Challenge. Sorry, not Classic.
I'm delusional because I enjoy watching the women's game. Okay.
You're getting killed, Steve.
I know.
You're getting
killed.
killed.
It's a personal preference. Like, I love watching the men's game. I love basketball. I love watching basketball.
I feel you, Florida Brad. Stephen Fonte meet and greets at the games. This is crazy, Steve. You're getting killed.
I know. It's my personal preference. Like, I enjoy watching basketball. I don't care if it's men or women.
Steve, you can only like football, monster
Goodness
trucks,
gracious.
and I don't know, socks. Socks are fair. Since today's business is getting killed right now, I'm not going to get to talk about it on the air, which I wanted to. Did you say they brought out a goat for Gino Auriemma?
No, I didn't.
He got the all-time wins record for college basketball, and they brought a live goat onto the court. That's so...
No, I just said that I enjoy watching women's basketball, men's basketball. Like, I enjoy watching basketball, and people are saying that I'm only allowed to watch men. I enjoy watching basketball more than football. I am a basketball guy. Yes.
I noticed you didn't say get out when Paulie's not here. Are you just trying to look cool for your pal Paul? You didn't say get out. Or anything.
I told you I'm not doing that anymore.
Well, yesterday you were like, I didn't say it, but I kind of said it.
For ESPN 97.7 and 100.1. Watch your favorite ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on QSportsTalk.com.
We are back on ESPN Radio Syracuse and Utica Rome. This is Orange Nation. I am Jordan Capozzi. To my left is Stephen Fonte. Dua Lipa, your artist of the day. This is Dance the Night. It's from Barbie the album, presumably from the movie as well. Got Got time for one more caller because we're going to have Ben Darnell on. He's going to be calling the Syracuse-UConn game this weekend. To preview that, we have Coach Felicia Leggett-Jack on at 1:15, and we have Voice of the Orange Matt Park on at 1:30, so that means that this call from John in Liverpool is today's business. Steve, who's it brought to you
It's
by?
brought to you by Grossman St. Moore CPAs. And if you were looking on the web for it, where would you go, Jordan?
GSACPAs.com. And if you're looking to call us, it's 315-437-7644, but you're going to have to call Brian later because John, probably going to be our last caller of the day. What's going on, John?
Well, guys, I'd like to agree with that first caller who says he just can't warm up to women's basketball because I'm in the same situation. I just can't warm up to it. And probably the main reason is they play beneath the rim. But if you want to see good women's sports, check out women's hockey. It's terrific. And SU plays hockey. They have a women's hockey team. It resembles the men's game, women's volleyball, women's soccer. Everything resembles the men's game except basketball. It doesn't even look like they're playing the same game because they play beneath the rim.
So unless you can dunk, it's not worth watching.
Well, I'll watch it for about 5 minutes.
Did you ever go? Do you ever go to high school games? Do you ever go to high school games in the air? I mean, they play for the most part. Okay, go ahead.
I've watched them on TV, but no, again, take a look at women's hockey. Take a look at some of these other women's sports that they don't get the coverage that basketball gets. There seems to be this media hype to hype up basketball, and count me with the first guy. To me, it's a vastly inferior product compared to women's swimming, women's track and field.
All right, we get it. You don't like it. All right, John, we get it. And listen. I always love when you call. You're allowed to have your opinion. To say that it's not worth watching because they don't dunk, I completely disagree with that.
John, I promise this is a time thing. You're getting dumped because we are literally behind. We're already late for our 1 p.m. It is what it is. But he shouted out some other women's sports, so we'll give John that. We'll give John that. He can have that one.
All right. John's not watching. Okay, I get it, but. To suggest that
there are like 3 comments that are like, ask John when the last time he played above the rim was.
All right.
I love the Q Sports Talk chat.
Serenity now. All right, we're going to take a timeout. We're going to get to football on the other side. Ben Darnell will join us to preview Syracuse-UConn and fill us on the Huskies. Felicia Leggett-Jack coming up 1:15. Matt Park 1:30. Back after this on ESPN Radio.
This is...
We're done. We're done. Okay, everybody. We're done. All of our callers from now on are going to be people who we plan to have on the show. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm by the button. I'm sorry. Oh, man. How many damn Johns are going to call in about women's basketball? Oh, what a time to be alive. I don't blame you, Steve. Oh, am I going to be able to get this song? Am I going to be able to... Oh, dude, am I going to be able to get this song? Oh, my goodness. I'm not ignoring you, but I might be in Hurtsville right now. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. We are in Hurtsville, gang. Please let me download the song. I'll do anything. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Oh, no. Oh, no. A lot of memes. A lot of memes. You guys are right. Oh, I'm panicking. I got to be able to download these songs. Please let me download it. I'll do anything. Please. Please. I was late on saying this, hoping that it was a given, but as a heads up, Ben is going to need a headshot, friends, at the desk. Oh my God, we got it. We got it. We got the song. Okay, back to the chat. I'm sorry. You're right, I might have to sing it. Is that a joke, Buckets, or no? I'm not laughing at you. No, that's what we've been talking about for the last half hour. We tried to get to a little earlier, but people kept calling about the men's game tonight, and then we played it, and then we had a lot of callers. Some of them, some of them not popular calls. Okay, Jordan, you can't tell. What? Why do I owe you? Did I say so? Thank you all. I got the song. We're okay. Your faith means a lot. If you want to run away. Cuse is in the house. That's a great comment, Lucas. The Jeff Jarrett comment. Tronic. Hi, I just sat on hold for 35 minutes to say I don't like.
What was that?
I don't know, man. No, that was Robert in Rochester. He was the backdoor cuts guy. Oh. Oh, you might know this one.
Oh, I got this one.
Yeah. Hang up the phone. Something alone. I'll get this hour to open out of here. Oh, my good golly goo-goo. Oh.
ESPN 97.7 and 100.1. Watch live on QSportsTalk.com.
Hour number 2 of Orange Nation is kicking off now, and boy, am I glad that we've got 3 guests coming up, including Coach Felicia Leggett-Jack in just about 15 minutes. Here's what hasn't changed, though. Dua Lipa's your artist of the day. This song is New Rules, and if you're just tuning in, the reason for that is because Paulie called her like Dua Lipa or something. So we're teaching the fine people about Dua Lipa.
He should be here, though, to listen to it. So.
He should be listening in the car with the voice of the Orange, Matt Park, and we have him at 1:30, so I will ask Matt and put him in kind of an awkward spot.
All right.
I probably won't, actually.
Let's kick off hour number 2. Let's talk some Cuse football. The Orange getting set to take on UConn on Saturday. Pleased to be joined by Ben Darnell, host on ESPN Radio Hartford. He'll be on the call for Syracuse and UConn. Ben, thanks for coming on. Let's delve into this Huskies team. This opponent for Syracuse on Saturday. 7-3. Their 3 losses are to Power 4 opponents. Got blown out by Maryland, played Duke and Wake Forest awfully close. And then, they've won their 7 other games. I mean, what do you make of the 7-3 record? How good is this team right now? Do you have a feel for how good they are?
Well, they've been a lot better on defense over the last couple of years since Jim Mora's been here. And that defensive front really plays with passion. Never worried about the defense. The thing about this team that's always the head scratcher is how we win games without throwing for more than 100 yards. That's always been a mystery. We got a great running back stable, as we always do. There's 3 guys that are already over 500 yards, but we're always questioning the quarterback. Nick Everett can come in there, and he can run some 3rd and longs for some first downs. He can definitely turn the chains on some short yardage, but passing is a mystery. And it's kind of been a roller coaster. In Joe Fignano will come in because Nick Evers will be hurt more than it will be his passing ability. And he's decent. He's okay. He can move the ball, but it's nothing that you're afraid of. If this team ever had a passing game, they could be very dangerous. But they do it with defense. They do it with the running game. And you mentioned, Maryland, Penn, Duke, ACC, Wake Forest, ACC. I could argue we're a couple of plays away from being 9-1 instead of 7-3. If they were to beat Syracuse on Saturday, huge for this program moving forward as far as confidence goes, especially against those kind of caliber conference teams. We beat up on a lot of guys that, it's not going to wow you as far as their strength of schedule. If they can get this win against Syracuse, huge feather in their cap here for 2024.
Ben, I think what a lot of fans in Syracuse have been pointing at looking at this game, besides UConn's rushing attack, is that in the two games they've played against ACC opponents, they've both been tight. Syracuse, it was up and down to start, but I think they've kind of jumped a bit in a lot of people's power rankings. Does this feel like a similar vibe to you, where Syracuse is like those other ACC teams they played, I believe Duke and Wake Forest, and just how have they played in those games against those opponents that's allowed them to keep it close against ACC competition?
They do it with their defensive line. We were afraid that Duke was going to throw all over the place, and same with Wake Forest. But the defensive line makes it very easy to play man in the secondary. But let me be honest with you, fellas. UConn's wanting to get into one of these Power 5, Power 4 conferences. And I don't want to blame the refs on your show, especially being in Syracuse territory. But it has felt a little funny on those two games in particular, especially Wake Forest, when a pass interference did not get called at the end of that game. There have been multiple games that ACC refs have not really been the favorite of UConn. Now, we don't have a conference, so we got to go get our refs. We use ACC refs. And you would think, since we've been giving them so many game checks, that some calls would go our way. But it never does. This win, in big picture speaking, this win is huge for UConn's football program to finally get a win in this particular conference to basically, look better in the eyes of the conference realignment. So UConn, maybe one day, this football program will be with the big boys all the time. But we got to fight these teams and sometimes the 12th man in the stretch to get it done.
That Jim Moore oppressor was elite, by the way, after the Wake game.
I was going to ask you about the UConn and the hope to be in one of these Power 4 conferences or whatever happens with conference realignment next. What is the plan? What do you see the future being of UConn football? Do you think they land in a Power 4 conference within the next X amount of years, or I guess what do you see the future being for this program?
Well, everything hinges around our basketball programs, and we all know that. Like, as much as we want to pretend that we do care about football around here. Like, our tailgates are epic. The fans always support. But our bread is buttered with the basketball programs. Now, that looks all in good to Big Ten, ACC, SEC, but the football is where it's at. You fellas know this. Like, if you're not winning football games, you're not going to be viable as a product to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on. So if they can, Big 12's offered, there's AAC is offered, and I know that's not Power 4, but still the offering always comes with, we want your basketball programs. We could care less about your football programs. And to throw away the Big East, as you guys have lived through this, that's hard for this area to do. So they're trying to straddle both things, where they want to be in a big conference, but also maintain this Big East love affair with men's basketball and women's basketball. However, if everyone else is going to be changing and these big boats of Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, ACC are going to be the end-all, be-all, and you're not a part of that, winning back-to-back national championships, and by the way, boys, we're cruising for a third. They got the game against Texas tonight, but that's all good. But the football is where it's king, and I really think a lot of people in this area are pushing for the ACC, which would make a lot of sense for basketball on top of football. But if you don't win these football games, then they're not going to want to have you a part of the party.
Yeah. Fran Brown actually said that last night on his weekly radio show, that he looks at UConn as a conference opponent, that, all the games in the ACC come down to about a touchdown, one possession game, and he's expecting no different on Saturday. As you've been preparing to call this game, Ben, studying up on Syracuse, what stands out to you about the Orange, and maybe what concerns you about the Orange from a UConn perspective? What are they most concerned about?
Number one, Quinn Allen Jr. as far as on the bullet board and also on the jersey. But, you got to look at the quarterback, Tom McCoy. He does a great job, especially on the short intermediate routes. Like, the one thing I've noticed with Syracuse, they throw a lot of the short pass just to really open up everything else. And they're fine. They're fine with throwing 7 yards at a time all game long. And, I think a lot of that California win was a lot of that as well. But I see the Orange being susceptible. Like watching Stanford, watching UNLV block those punts, watching Boston College, like this team can make mistakes in crucial moments that hopefully will go UConn's way. But the biggest thing I think is stopping that passing game. If they can do that up front and not have to blitz from all different angles, and can kind of control up front with just 4 guys, I think they can be successful. But they're going to have to score the football to do that. And I don't think you can grind out a 40-minute time of possession rushing for 200 yards and win 17-14 against this team. I think Syracuse is definitely going to score 21 to 24 points at least. So you got to match that in the air. And that's the mystery. I mean, I started this interview with, guessing about the passing game. That's what we started the season with. And we're still here, trying to play our 11th game, trying to figure out how we're going to move the football in the air. If they can do that, UConn that is, then I think they can have some success against the Orange. But first and foremost, if we can stop the passing game on the other side, and this is Quinn Allen Jr., I think he's a player. I really do. I think this is one of the most underrated guys in all of NCAA. But I think it's going to be a good game, high-scoring game. Looking forward to being in the Dome. And like I said, I think a lot of the boys are hungry to get a win, more so against the ACC, on top of beating the Orange.
Yeah, a lot on the line. As you said, UConn's looking for that statement win this year, beating an ACC opponent. Syracuse looking for an 8th regular season win for just the second time since 2001. So a significant, game for both these teams as they look to come out on top on Saturday. Noon kick inside the Dome. Ben, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate the time and enjoy your time here in Syracuse.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, Ben Darnell, host of ESPN Radio Hartford. He'll be on the call for Syracuse-UConn inside the Dome on Saturday. And with that, we will take a timeout. When we return, we'll be joined by the head coach of the SU women's basketball program, Felicia Leggett-Jack. Joins us on the other side. Back after this on ESPN Radio.
Game day radio coverage of Syracuse football is brought to you by...
This picture down. Can I move the picture?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, no, you can move it. I don't care. You can move it wherever. I am not attached to it in any way. No, something can't go wrong while I'm trying to get music downloaded. That's not how this works. This is my time to shine. Yeah, what? No, have a good time in the 315, Steve?
I wasn't feeling it with that.
Hello, can you hear me?
Ben.
Huh.
It's got to be organic. It can't be forced, and I wasn't feeling it.
Huh. I don't know. What did Ben do to you? I always like having radio hosts on because they're like they say things that maybe like a team broadcaster wouldn't, like talking about the refs. Like I love it. Or the time we had Spike Eskin on and he was like just going off on Embiid and whatnot. Like that was good. That was really fun. If you want to run away, I think I'm going to move up levitating. Yeah, Pastor. I couldn't tell. It might have been like half phone and half like, I think his voice was just kind of, he had a deep voice. Did a full 180. We got the boys texting me about the freaking Steelers-Browns game tonight. Fellas, this is not what we're doing. Maxwell. Okay. Yeah, we're getting called out for the phone.
What?
Somebody on Twitter just said the phone quality was.
Yeah, that was rough.
It was. I think part of it was his voice a little bit too, but.
Yeah, that's why I said it turned down, but it wasn't. There was nothing you could do. It was overmodulated. I thought maybe it was a volume thing, but it wasn't. It was just his side of things.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it was. Don't
Roy
apologize.
Cap, 1963 on Twitter. I gotta aim for the VMix more for the better quality.
All right, she's good.
Hand up. That's on me. Luckily, no phone quality needed because we're going to have Coach Jack on VMix. Did a full 180, baby. All right. Hold on. Let me just... Oh, I brought water. Big time. One last reminder. One shot, 4 answers.
Watch your favorite ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on QSportsTalk.com.
Back on ESPN Radio Syracuse, Orange Nation. Jordan Capozzi here with Stephen Fonte. We're going to the biggest hits for Coach Felicia Leggett-Jack. This is Levitating by Dua Lipa, trying to teach Paulie a little bit. Hopefully he's listening in the car.
All right, and with that, as promised, we bring on the head coach of the SU women's basketball program, Felicia Leggett-Jack, joining us. Coach, we really appreciate you finding a few minutes for us here. How are you today?
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well. We're doing well. Let's start with the game last night, and we'll kind of go from there. You know, it's a game. You're 2-2 going into it. Albany in town. Your ladies jump out to a 14-point lead, and then Albany comes back in the second quarter, and then it was nip and tuck the rest of the way, and they hit a late three, and you end up losing by that late 3-pointer. Well, walk us through the game and what happened that it kind of got away from you down the stretch.
Well, before I go to that, I think it's important I share with my great community that, I see you, I feel you, and I honor you, and I appreciate the support that I do receive at this amazing school that I get to coach at. And I certainly use language that I'm not proud of in the press room, and that doesn't fit my character, or the character I have for my family, nor for my team, or the people that I surround myself with. So for that, I definitely want to apologize for, but I hope that we understand that, I value my fans and my friends that do come. Half the fans that come to the game, they're my family, by the way. I'm from a big family here, and cousins all over the place, and they all support and they all come and really rally behind what we're trying to build here. And for that, I thank everyone. But what happened in that game, we just couldn't find that synergy. We kept having energy, and it fell apart. Energy, it never connected to the synergy where we were on all cylinders. And, I felt like our bigs didn't run the floor as they needed to. I thought Izza did a tremendous job, but I certainly didn't find, the other 2 to 3 bigs to really kind of roll with her, if you will. And you can't say enough about what, Georgia tries to do and gets done. But we needed more people to show up during stretches in that second and third quarter.
All right, you brought up the post-game comments, and let's go there next. And, we know that you are passionate. You're passionate about this team. You're passionate about the university. You're passionate about this city. You were very passionate in that post-game press conference last night. What sparked those comments, Coach? Was it the loss? Was it something that happened last night? Was it something that's been on your mind for a while? What kind of sparked that reaction in post-game?
Well, if to know me and to be my friend, that the loyalty and the commitment that you're going to have is 1,000%. And so my 2 kids were in the hallway and they were really emotional. And I really had to gather their energy back to getting composed to be a professional, because they're both going to go out and be professionals at the end of the season. We got to go out there and do our job, and I got them ready. We came in that press conference and everybody's laughing and having a good time. It's a social atmosphere. And I'm thinking like, crap. Everybody doesn't see it the way I see it, the way we see it and feel it. And that really sparked something in me. And it made me just have a conversation with my players publicly. And I share with them, everybody don't see women's basketball the way we see it or feel it the way we feel it. But that's okay. We still have to feel it and see it and love it, because we're going to find an eagle or two, which if we got many fans that really support and come consistently to our game. But I need our players to understand that moment and see it for what it is. We got to get back on and to tend to the sheep, get to work harder, understand that there's going to be days we're going to feel all alone, but the fight still is necessary. That's why you see we fight on everywhere that I partake in and sign autographs too. But it wasn't when you use those definitive words like nobody and everybody, and it becomes something that it sticks and it speaks louder than it needs to. And I put that out there, and for that I need to take those words back, because there's some loyal 2,000 fans that show up for women's basketball. There's some people that's reached out to me from some really major places in our community who share with me that raise their hand and say, I'm guilty. I don't come to the games. I need to start coming. You called me out and I'm on my way. And so for that, I am glad we did say it, because now we're finding those other people that's kind of saying, I just listen to it on the radio or watch it on the ACC network. They're saying they're going to start coming. So for that, I'm really excited, because one thing that, if you know me for a second, I'm loyal to my people. I'm loyal to my community. I'm loyal to my home. I'm grateful I get to be here, and I don't take one of these days for granted. But there is times I need to talk to my players, and that time I used a public moment to share some information with my student athletes.
So along those lines, Coach, you've said in the past, we don't lose. We either win or we learn.
Yes.
Last night you didn't win. So what do you hope your players and maybe the community as well? What do you hope everyone, I guess, collectively takes away from that outcome last night and what happened last night?
Well, we did win. Some people look at it. I've been doing this for 37 years, and some people get stuck onto this number of the points say you're winners, the point says you're losers. I think that we've learned some lessons through this last night. I've learned lessons too, that no matter what you do, you don't release your character to people's external things. And I let my character escape me. And for that, I've learned how to now take that back. We've learned that, we can't continue to mess up that second quarter that we all know that is eluding us for some reason. First year was the fourth quarter. Then we'd be down 18 points last year in the fourth quarter, and everybody expected us to win because we've done it twice, right? And so now it's this number two. I tell you what, isn't it kind of ironic the number 2 is the what's evading us, and that number 2 was such a big number for us our last couple of years here. So I think it's God playing a little trick on me, and I'm going to stay happy. Sometimes you got to dance in the rain. And right now we're dancing in the rain, and we don't see ourselves as losers. Or the score says that we lost a few games, but the things that we're learning with this young team, not young in age and years, but young, and we got 6 new players, and we're going to take some time to figure out how to mold that energy and to create some synergy.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up the number 2. You certainly miss having DeAsia Fair around, and and we're kind of seeing this with the men's team as well. That it doesn't just you don't just snap your fingers and all of a sudden it happens, right? I mean, can you speak to the learning curve that you and this team? It's a process, right, Coach? I mean, the process that you are going through, trying to replace one of the all-time greatest scorers in the history of women's college basketball. You don't just snap your fingers and make it better, right?
We're going to make it better, but it's taking more time than I want. We came here, we had 4 players that stayed, and we brought in 8 players, and we made it happen. We won 20 games. And then the next year they said, well, that was a fluke. Nobody knew who you were. And then we ended up winning 24 games and getting to the second round of the NCAA. And so, now we got used to this thing called winning, with points being more than the opponent. And we got an expectation, right? And now DeAsia goes, and she's in Egypt right now playing professional basketball, and we have to fill that gap and that responsibility. And we're getting better every single game, but the fans want to see the points say we won, and we haven't given them that consistently. I don't think we've lost 3 games in non-conference in the last 2 years, and so I get the anxiousness, I get the concern. But we are working in the dark, and we are going to continue to get better. And I hope that, more do come out and watch us play, because I think what they'll see is young people becoming young adults, and these young adults are going to be professional women one day. And some people can learn from these young ladies, and I know I learn every day. And so the work is not easy, but it's necessary, and I'm the person for the job.
Yeah, I want to get back to the support piece of it. Kind of a 2-part question. Do you feel as though you're getting the support from the university that you need and want? And if you're not getting the support from the community that you need and want, what will it take to kind of to get that? What are you looking for in an ideal situation with the support piece of this?
We definitely need more here. We certainly want more. I should say we don't need, because we didn't have even a secretary when I got here. But we found a way to have success, and I think winning is easy. Here I am, 2-3 right now. So you win with what you have, and let's put that on the table first. But we certainly need to raise more money for my program so I can have the necessary situations and name, image, and likeness. We need to get more financial in that situation. We lost our best post player to Tennessee, Lissa Latham, because we just didn't have it. We didn't have the money. We couldn't even get in a conversation with what Tennessee was offering. We certainly want more positions for my staff. We would like to be equal to the top 5 programs in our conference. We're not there yet, and we hope to get there. But this is my home, man. And so sometimes, when you home, you can talk like you from your city. And so I called my city out. And I told them I need them. And I know they're coming. And I know they're going to support me. Certainly didn't want to swear. Certainly didn't want to, say it in a derogatory way that I said it. But, we get out in that community. I work for the Housing Authority. I work for West Hill. I work for the suburbs. I work for inner city. I was out there in this community when I was here. And my players were out there in that community. All I ask of them is that when we're in our toughest situation, where our fans, our team is youthful, and all being together, I'd love to see more butts in the seat. And that's the way I should have said it, but I said it a little bit harsh, and that's not what's expected from me. That's not the hugs that I give out to everybody I meet. But I was frustrated, and even I can have a bad day, and I'm certain my community is going to forgive me.
And no doubt about that. And, you've got a couple of road games here before we get a chance to see you back in the Dome again. You're back in the Dome on December 1st. But prior to that, hitting the road, heading down to Florida for the Emerald Coast Challenge. You got Missouri on Monday and either Creighton or Wichita State on Tuesday. Good opportunity there to, bounce back against some Power 5 opponents, Power 4 opponents. What are you hoping to accomplish, Coach, with this trip down to Florida?
Well, we're gonna have to hunker down and really dive into these teams because these are great. This is Big East. This is SEC country now. So we're coming from the pot to the fire. So I'm getting ready to put my mind totally on those two teams, and that this is the last conversation I'm going to have about what we talked about today because I gotta give my players the attention they deserve and they need, and as well as my coaches. And so I know it's going to be difficult. I promise you, we're going to leave it out there. We're going to continue to add one more minute to our intensity of purpose and every single day. And if we can continue to get better, by December, we're going to be a little bit better. We're going to have a tough situation in December with the Yales coming to town and this team called Notre Dame that we beat twice last year. And I think they got a little bone to pick with us, if you will. And so, but I think that we're going to continue to get better. But if you stay with us, if you continue to believe that we can do this thing, I promise you, we're going to give you our best effort.
All right, Coach. We really appreciate you finding a few minutes for us today. Enjoy the trip. I hope it goes well. And again, open invitation anytime you want to come on. We do appreciate the time.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you for all you do. And let's go Orange.
All right, Felicia Leggett-Jack joining us here on the program. And with that, we'll hit a timeout. We'll take a break. When we return, voice of the Orange, Matt Park, joins us on the road, heading down to New York City as the SU men's basketball team gets set to take on Texas. We're back after this on ESPN Radio.
Monday, the Orange.
Good job. I think we were really Stockton and Malone-esque there.
Don't make me Malone. I don't.
That's valid.
I don't want to be.
That's very fair.
I don't want that.
My bad. Yeah, CB, that was. I'll put it this way. That was something that I know Steve had in mind for the news, and that's one where you let Steve ask the questions he wants to ask because the news needs sound bites.
Thank you, Jordan.
I got you, and also, look, I was gassed from introducing artist of the day, okay? I was gassed. And also, yeah, I kind of hit the. So it's fair.
LA Orange, yes, I do. I enjoy basketball in general. LOL. No, I did not play above the rim. That's kind of why I asked. Like, did we not play good basketball because we didn't play above the rim? Like, I don't know. I hate that. I hate that argument. Like, you have to dunk to be a good basketball player. Yeah. LA Orange, I played, I was a point guard throughout my career, and then senior year in high school, my coach thought it would be better for me to move to the 2. So I actually played my senior year when we won the state title. I played the 2. I played some 1, but mainly the 2. And then in college, I was back at the point.
Would you prefer the 1?
I much prefer being a point guard. Yeah.
Would you prefer the passing element of being the 1?
I just like having the ball in my hands and setting up the offense, and I enjoyed passing. Yeah.
How were you sitting at the top defensively?
I was a good defender. Yeah, I was quick. Back in the day, I was quick. I'm not quick anymore. I'm 48 now, but back in the day, I was quick. Minnesota Dan, that's funny. Kevin, what did I get for dinner last night? I got a roast beef sandwich. I got the beef on weck. Just plain roast beef and the bun, because that's how I roll. Yeah, Minnesota Dan, you had me pegged. You do. That was my game. I was going to get just like a basic burger, but they told me that the beef on weck was fantastic. So I was like, all right, I'll take your word for it. It was very good. There's very good food there.
.7 and 100.1. Watch live on QSportsTalk.com.
Orange Nation back on ESPN Radio. Syracuse, Jordan Capozzi, Steve Infante. About 20 minutes left in the show as we're joined by Voice of the Orange, Matt Park. I gave Matt Park the other Dua Lipa banger, Don't Start Now. Hopefully Paulie's in the car listening.
All right, we bring on Matt Park. Matt, are you guys are you in New York City? Have you arrived?
We literally just pulled into the parking garage of the hotel.
You did.
In the Polymobile. And he isn't hearing any of the music you're playing because he's locked in on finding a parking spot right now.
Right, very good.
That's fair.
Very good. You survived the trip. That's excellent. All right, what are your expectations for this game tonight? You know, we have many of our callers are expecting Syracuse to get run out of the gym. What are you anticipating as you see Syracuse Texas tonight at the Barclays Center?
Yeah, again, I mean, the reason we love sports is we don't really know, right? But I see them elevating the level of oomph a little bit. I think the opponent, the venue, the road trip, that type of thing tends to get the juices flowing a little bit more than a Saturday afternoon game at home against Youngstown State. So I think we'll see that. Doesn't mean the margin or the result changes appreciably. Texas obviously has some good material, but I expect that you'll see Syracuse a little more bounce in their step, and that's literally a step in the right direction in terms of fixing some of their issues right now.
We did have a caller call in earlier, and we said that we would ask you this question. I mean, I think I know the answer, but he asked.
No.
Well, we promised we would mention it. He asked about Chance Westry, which I assume there's no chance we're going to see him. No pun intended.
Oh
and they asked about Eddie Lampkin as well, and whether or not he was healthy. Thought that he looked a little bit banged up. Last time out against Youngstown State. Any update on? As far as you know, is Eddie Lampkin good to go?
As far as I know, sure. I have been occupied here and away from the basketball team for a little bit until right now. So we're going to go in and see them. And there's a team meeting in about an hour, a little less. And we'll go check in on that. But, look, Eddie Lampkin is a little heavier, thicker guy. We've all seen him out there with his back brace and this and that. I don't think he's a run like a deer kind of guy. And we have seen a lot of those, and this is a different way to go about it. It's a trade-off. It's the size that you've been looking to see in the interior that we haven't seen in a while, and so he's a different kind of athlete. And this season is still very new. We're kind of learning how all this stuff fits together and who's who and what they do, and and that kind of thing. And that's where Lampkin is. He's got a lot of skill, but he's a below the rim player, and I think it might not look that pretty, but I have no reason to think that he's unavailable tonight.
You know, we've seen 3 close victories, obviously, Lemoyne and Colgate and then Youngstown State. The way that Syracuse played in the second half against Youngstown State and in those overtimes, it seemed like there was some good basketball in there, you know, on both ends of the court. Do you feel like there are some things that can be taken from the second half in those 2 overtimes that maybe can hopefully apply to this team moving forward? Can they build from that, I guess, is my question to you.
Sure. I mean, that's the just ramping up of defensive intensity, I think, first and foremost. The biggest difference that's made, to kind of make sure that they sealed the Youngstown State game. And, going back to the first part of your question, do they have some things? Of course they have some things. That's what built up the enthusiasm of the year to begin with before everybody's kind of getting to the edge of the bridge here while they've won 3 games close. J.J. Starling can play, and Donnie Freeman's exciting, and those types of things. Those weren't new revelations in the Youngstown State game. That shows where their strengths are. I just keep coming back to the fact I think they've played sluggishly. It's 3 games. I'm not one who gets all bent out of shape about 10 palm ratings in November. There's a long way to go. Definitely room for improvement. And, tonight kicks it up a notch in terms of competition, but also in terms of the venue and all the things we've talked about. I think you have a chance to see something different.
Matt, I think the 2 key issues that people have noticed with the men's team so far this season, the 3-pointers aren't going in like people thought they were, and Coach Autry's been very open about the defense. The rebounding's been better, and we'll see how that goes against Texas. But in terms of tonight's game, I mean, Texas lost to Ohio State, and then they've beaten up on 3 very low-tier opponents. So do you think that Syracuse in this game has a better chance trying to outscore the Longhorns and make this a shootout, or do you think it's going to come down to them needing to hunker down on defense and hold them?
Well, that's a good question. I think, obviously you need to get the ball in the basket, and I think they want to play a cleaner game. My observation, what I've seen so far, nothing's really come that easily. They haven't made 3-pointers. They haven't gotten to fast break points. Thinking about the first game against Lemoyne, which kind of got everybody in this mood about the season to begin with, the passes were sort of double clutched, and there's turnovers. There's a guy kicking it off his foot or catching the ball on the sideline, and those types of things that you hope don't happen over the long haul. I think they make shots tonight. This is a great venue to shoot in here at Barclays Center, and it will be for Texas too. Texas has played Cream Puff City so far, so they want to know who they are. They want to have a better performance than they've had. So, that's why you play in these types of games. These are measuring sticks. That's why we're excited for it.
And after Youngstown State, a lot of people, even in our chat, were saying JJ's going to need to play like this every single game if they're going to keep winning. What do you think is realistic for JJ in terms of, a points per game, in terms of how much of the load he can carry? Because there's a lot of talent on the team, but he really stepped up to win in double overtime.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to score 38 points every game. I think that's reasonable, and that sounds like a great summation of it. Anything more than that?
Touche. All right, man.
I mean, look, again, I just keep coming back to it's early in the year. The pieces were put together for a reason. They did the best they can in assembling the roster in the off season. Let's let it marinate a little bit. Starling, I do think, has a chance to take a step up. This is not a knock against Judah Mintz. We just know how Judah played and how he lent his skills to the operation. With Starling there, he has a chance to do his own thing and thrive. The other guys, Chris Bell, we know what he brings to the table. Donnie Freeman has been a double-double machine. They've got to figure out the rotation here a little bit and who contributes what off the bench. So let's see. I think this game just has this one and the 2 here in Brooklyn both will should tell us a little more. Now maybe it tells us something you don't want to hear, but I think these will feel a little bit different than the first 3 games they've played.
I know the focus is on basketball tonight, but let's ask you a couple of football questions before we let you go. And, Fran Brown has kind of downplayed the importance of 8 wins. I mean, you've been doing this a long time. You know that Syracuse does not win 8 regular season games on a regular basis. It's happened only once since 2001, and hopefully about to happen twice. How significant would a win on Saturday be? Not that it's over UConn, but that it's 8-3 going into the last game against Miami. How significant would that be for this program?
I think it's big. I think it's a good chance you win this one. You're ranked. So that's, again, even if it's only briefly or whatever at the bottom of the poll, it does matter to have your name scrolling across the screen. It does matter to dip your toe into those waters and at least claim you're ranked in the short term. And maybe long term. Maybe you beat Miami and you move up the rankings. It shows signs of progress. All those types of things we're talking about, again, from a business perspective, getting more tickets sold and fannies in the seats, and all of those things up every time you win. So every win is significant and impactful. UConn, I think, is not the rollover that was maybe assumed to be back in the offseason or in August. And, to win this game would be a big one and have a little momentum going into the Miami game.
And then lastly, what concerns you most about this UConn team from a Syracuse perspective? I know they've got those 3 running backs all averaging better than 5 yards per carry. Is that the biggest issue heading into this game for Syracuse, that they have to stop the run?
Well, to me it is. When I see that just on paper, and you start to think, well, they've got 3 basically equally productive running backs, they aren't all going to have a bad day.
Yeah.
You probably aren't going to shut down all 3 of them. So somebody will do their thing and or at least be a threat. So you got to be mindful of it, and slowing the run game is important in any game, of course.
All right, noon kick on Saturday, but first things first, basketball tonight at the Barclays Center. Matt, thanks for coming on. Have a great call, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Okay, sounds good, guys. Thanks.
All right, voice of the Orange, Matt Park, joining us here on the show. And with that, we'll take our final timeout, and we will wrap things up on the other side. There is time for a phone call if you want to check in, 315-437-7644. If you want to give us your prediction on the game tonight, we will wrap things up next on ESPN Radio.
Saturday.
1 might have been the magic number there for me. All right, to address some of the chat. The reason I was, he works for Learfield. I believe he works for Syracuse too. He teaches classes there, university. The reason I was laughing when asking about Westry is because, I kind of said it earlier, like, he's not playing. I think Matt said it earlier. Matt, who, is in with the team, said like a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, that he would be shocked if he played and just showed up in the Texas game. You don't play a guy who hasn't played all season first game of the year in this game, in my opinion. I don't know anything at all. Like, I don't talk to Chance Westry, but I'm fairly confident here in saying you won't see him in this tournament. So that's why I was laughing. And Rothstein tweets that because everybody reacts to it and gets clicks, and yeah, I saw. No, it's okay. You don't play if you're a coward. What do you mean? Like, you can't. I don't think coaches are just BSing you when they say, like, you can't just throw a guy in a big game. Like, that's why I said the Cornell game. I'll put it this way. We're going to get to a certain point where every game is going to be a big game and you're just going to have to throw them in. But I feel like at this point, in a game against Texas, how confident are you in a guy who hasn't seen the court to where you're going to throw him in, You know what I mean?
you're confident, you're delusional.
That too. Or he's just putting up really good numbers in practice. But also, like, I like Rothstein. Saying he does something for clicks is absolutely not a knock on him. We're all doing it for clicks at the end of the day. Like, that's, well, not, I don't want to group Steve in that, but if you're like in entertainment media, especially social media, like, your success is directly related to your engagement. So I love Rothstein. I think he's freaking hysterical. That video of him, like, that was good stuff, but I don't think Chance is playing. I got dunked on, dude. Hit it with the mean touche. Yeah, Jen, we'll make sure to have Coach Jack's interview up on YouTube as soon as possible as well. There's no Cody today, so if you're an all-day watcher, then go back and watch anything you missed at 3, right after Newhouse. I thought I heard Paulie talking in the background at the beginning of that, to be honest. Did a full 1A. Thought it was funny. It was like Eddie Lampkin's a thicker guy. Yeah, that was really fun. The kids would say Eddie Lampkin is thick.
You have anything? I mean, we're going to have, a little bit of
Yeah,
time
I have
here, so
today's business stuff planned. I think they just announced that the NBA All-Star Game is going to have a pickup tournament. Ryan, I play before the Fran Brown show. I try to post it on Twitter, but I've been playing before the Fran Brown show every week. We are Game 1 LA Orange. Last night I beat UConn. I'm 8-3, as is the team, and I got raided by some big streamer. So there were like, 70 or whatever people who stuck around to the end. It was cool. One of them said he coached Chris Bell in like 5th grade or something. He's like a travel coach. It could be Cap, but it was cool. But yeah, Fran Brown, I believe, is Tuesday next week. So you will get the show Tuesday before Fran Brown, the game. Wrapping up Dua Lipa Day on Orange Nation. Of course, on ESPN Radio, Syracuse and Utica Rome. Look, this isn't her biggest hit. I gave those to Coach Jack and Matt Park. Levitating, Don't Start Now. But this song, Cold Heart, has Elton John.
I've heard this one.
Really?
I've heard this song.
I don't even know if I know this one. Not even kidding, yeah.
Oh, okay. I've heard this song.
There we go. Steve's cool. Steve's hip.
I wouldn't take it that far.
Steve knows all about Dua Lipa and Megan 3 Stallion.
The Stallion.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
The extra E.
They had a song together, but I didn't know that one either, so I wasn't going to risk it by playing it just because she was in there. All right, so before we get to Newhouse afternoon, we got a couple minutes before we vote on the artist of the day. So I'll hit you with something. I don't know what. We got a lot of stuff that's run over. I'll just get quick reactions to this. Gino Auriemma, UConn's women's basketball head coach, of course, became the winningest head coach in college basketball history, and they brought a live goat onto the court after. Would you be down with that, Steve? It's obviously a kind gesture, but
very symbolic. Yes.
Yeah.
Were they giving him a goat? Is he supposed to take it home and feed it?
I didn't see if they were. That's one of those terrible gifts. Like, oh boy, you won me a goldfish at the fair, and now it's gonna. I'm not gonna say that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've been in that spot before. Yeah, I mean, it was a matter of when and not if he was going to do it, and he is the GOAT right now in women's college basketball, and for good reason. It probably will be for a very long time. I can't imagine. We were talking about parity earlier in the show. I can't imagine we're going to see quite the same level of dynasty ever again, or at least for a really long time in the sport of women's basketball.
No, one more quick hitter. If you want to hear about LeBron James taking a break from social media, or Woody Johnson, the Jets owner, supposedly wanting to bench Aaron Rodgers in late September, you can go look at it online. I will say this about LeBron. I hate when people announce they're taking a break from social media. It's like, just do it. But LeBron kind of has to, or people are going to get suspect. very quick thoughts on one thing. Tommy DeVito has come out and said that he's putting an end to all the external stuff and the fun in games and is just focusing on the field. I understand why you say it. I understand why you do it. I personally, as a fan of football and all things fun, hate it. Like, I get why he has to do it, but aren't you going to be a little sad? Like, does he even do the finger thing?
I don't know.
Like,
I think
what's his celly going to be after he scores?
Last year it made sense because it was a fun thing, and he got off to a good start, and he went 3-3 as a starter, and that he did provide a spark, and it was brand new, and it was such a great story, and he was in such high demand, and we learned that he lived with his parents, and his mom makes him chicken cutlets and all that. This year, though, like this time around, this is about football, and this is about his career, and this is about his future, and about showing the Giants or another team I could be a primary backup in this league. So I think it's good for him. It's probably good for the team as well. Avoid extra distractions. I think it's just good for him personally, though, to focus on football and and try to play for whatever that next job is, if it's with the Giants or somewhere else.
Understandable. I think it's what you got to say, too. Especially with Drew Lock, that quote he had where he was like, I still need an explanation, too. So good on Tommy. And also, if he's a career backup, you don't want to have all the attention. So I think it's a good play. All right, Artist of the Day choices for tomorrow. Real quick, we will go Simon and Garfunkel, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, or another group who I was going to pick, but I forgot, and now I'm panicking. Pearl Jam, that can be an option. And Casey and the Sunshine Band. Simon and Garfunkel, Pearl Jam, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Do you have a strong feeling? Because I will go with you if you have a strong feeling. I do not.
I don't, but I have one that I would pick, but it's not strong.
Well, who is it?
I think Casey and the Sunshine Band would be good vibes.
I was trying to decide between Pearl Jam or Simon and Garfunkel.
I mean, we can.
Let's leave it up to the chat.
Okay, we have
between
15
those
seconds. Supercat said Casey, but it was before, and then San Diego Q said Simon. So based on the rules, it's Simon and Garfunkel. I'm sorry, guys. San Diego Q's timed it. I'm sorry.
We got to go. Enjoy the day, everybody.
The Sports Show.